software engineers, right? Like, I don't know if you know this, but there's an entire industry in India built to help young Indians crack the FANG interview. And, these are generally very smart kids, but unfortunately, they're just glazing over the fundamentals and then rote learning, data structures and algorithms. I don't know if you've heard of this. And now they see a big shift coming, right? Gemini can write code. You'll have a pair programmer available pretty quickly. Do you have advice for these people? How do you get out of the competitive exam mindset with all these shifts coming about?
I think it's a great question. I think real success comes from understanding things in a deeper way, right? And almost tempted to go back to the movie Three Idiots or something like that. And there's a scene in there, I think, when they ask Amir Khan the definition of a motor. And there's a version you just describe what a motor is. And there's a version where you actually understand what a motor is. So I view it's the same way. It quite doesn't change. You have to, understand the technology in a deeper way. If you do, you can transition, you can do things. Programming languages may change, the tools you use may evolve, but you're understanding the stack in a much deeper way. So that's what I would encourage people to do always. Programming is going to get easier in a way that's better, right? All of us are already thankful we don't have to write in assembly code or, we are used to higher level abstractions. AI will help with even higher level abstractions. You're going to use natural language. You're going to tell sometime, hey, can you just debug this code for me and explain what happened, and it'll do it. It's just going to make you a better programmer. So I think it's more important to, go deeper rather than trying to learn the thing of that moment. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know if you spent time on Twitter recently, but a lot of people, there's a word for startups being built on top of models like Gemini, right? It's kind of derogatory in nature. It's called a wrapper startup. You've heard of wrapper startups, right? You have thoughts on that? I feel like if you build for use cases, it should be commercially viable, but would love to hear it from you.
There are going to be APIs and people are going to use APIs. I think that is the way things will get built. So, it's not bad to be a wrapper. It's just you shouldn't be a shallow wrapper where I think you have to think about where the models are going and make sure you aren't doing something which just in the next version of the model will be done natively by the model itself.
Got it.
That will have a short shelf life. But if you're using AI to solve a real world use case in a way which involves a few more things you're doing,
or training multiple models.
Training multiple models, you have to think about the value you're adding on top of the model in whatever way, training multiple things together. And also thinking about the forward curve of the models and make sure the models just aren't going to do that. So I think it's a combination of both of them. Yeah.
That's Dog, bye. Bye, dog.
Welcome back to another episode of the Inspiring Talk podcast, and I'm super excited to be joined by Varun Maya. Varun, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Varun, the offline conversation that we just had, I'm already blown away with the kind of stuff that you're saying. And I asked you the question, which is hey, Varun, what are the few things that you strongly believe about? And I think let's begin there.
Yeah, so I'll tell you guys what I told him. I personally think I've been very vocal about this. I think AI is really going to take over the world. It's not going to be like the steam engine era. I think it's you're going to be in an environment where a lot of what we do on a daily basis is going to be done by robots. It is going to be done by artificial intelligence to a point where we won't have much work to do, right? And I don't think we are ready for that revolution, right? And we've had this...
Why do you say that?
Yeah, we've had this income inequality for a very long time, right? That is not going to just magically change because of AI, right? And governments have said, हम universal basic income करेंगे, सबको पैसा देंगे. If people are unemployed, if you lose your job because something else is now writing content or something else is conducting podcasts instead of you, it is very hard for you now to pick up another job, right? And if, let's say, the only jobs available now are the jobs where you're being paid 5,000 rupees a month, you're not going to take them. You're going to be like, what's the point? Let me look for something bigger. And eventually the government will say, screw it, let's just give everybody, a stimulus check, right? But we saw what happened in the US with the last stimulus check. It just leads to massive inflation, right? You can't just print money. And I feel like at that point, you're going to create a lot of chaos. A lot of people are going to be out on the streets. People who were previously educated, who have a degree and who are just being beaten by a robot, right? And it reminds me of the story I read a long time ago where, let's say there are two friends, let's say you and me, right, are on a mountain and suddenly we saw a hungry lion. What are you going to do? You're going to be shocked. You're going to be like, there's a hungry lion. And I sit down and I start tying my shoelaces. And you say, why are you tying your shoelaces, right? What is, like, this is a lion, we can't outrun a lion. And I look at you and I say, I don't need to outrun the lion. I just need to outrun you, right? That's what's going to happen, where not everyone is going to lose their jobs, but I just have to be faster than the next guy by building some competitive advantage before AI comes in and then utilize AI to kind of beat the rest, right? Like, I'll give you a practical example of this. Gemini can do one video a year and he will pull more views on that video than 10,000 interns that you could hire and make them all do 10 videos each per month, right? So the way that leverage works is once you have it, you have it. You're getting access to something, right? And Carrie Minati will use AI to make a mimic of himself to, automatically, he'll make his life easier. Videos will be automatically edited, shorts will be automatically created. So I feel we're not ready for that world, right? And I'm preparing myself for that world because I know it's coming. It's kind of obvious that it's coming.
You use the word competitive advantage over a lot of other people.
That you're able to, perform more and more and more, you snowball to the top. The gap between the guy at the top and the guy at the bottom is massive. Like it's a huge divide, right?
Yeah.
I feel with AI, that gap is going to widen and there's going to be fewer people at the top. Arjuna, there are some roles where you don't have such a strong divide. In tech, you have very strong divides, right? The CEO of, let's say, Oracle, ex-CEO of Oracle, will probably have many, like millions or probably billions of times more money than the bottommost guy at Oracle. Big gap.
Yeah.
But if you look at something like being a doctor, right? There's not that much of a gap.
That much of a gap, yeah.
The lead doctor is probably a businessman, right? Who, if he's making lots of money, he's probably running a hospital, right?
Yeah.
But the best doctor and a junior doctor, the gap is not that wide. It's wide, it's margin of maybe 5x, but it's not margins of millions of dollars or billions of dollars of difference, right? There's a big difference between what is a million and what is a billion, because especially when you're thinking magnitudes, right? One is so much more bigger than the other. So that is going to change because if you look at AI now, you're able to detect it's doing better than oncologists. It can look at a scan and say, this guy has cancer or this guy doesn't have cancer. It's been trained on so much data, right? Now suddenly you need much less diagnostic doctors, right? Then what's going to happen is slowly all the guys who are doing diagnostics are gone, right? Or 10 diagnostics people are replaced by one diagnostic guy plus AI. Because that guy is making the final decision whether the AI is right or wrong, but it's speeding up their time, right? Or speeding up that guy's time or that girl's time. Then you have your surgery people who are right now working in surgery. My dad's a surgeon, right? Like he doesn't do surgery, but he calls himself a surgeon. So then you have the next wave of robotics plus AI, where if you have a team of 10 people doing a surgery, where there's one lead doctor and everyone else helping that person, now you have one lead doctor and robots helping, right? Because these will not be conscious robots, but they will be able to do task-oriented things. Yeah, either bleeding.
All right, what's the next thing? The Union Minister for Road Transport and Highways, Nitin Gadkari, has said today publicly that self-driving cars will never be introduced in India. The reason cited by the minister is to safeguard jobs of drivers. Now, that's going to cause a problem because I can already sense that there is going to be a section of society that's going to find this unfair. For example, why are the jobs of drivers being protected when, let's say, a software engineer who is slowly seeing GPT chip away at his advantage, why is he not protected? And I understand the math. I know that India really relies on delivery boys and drivers and truck drivers, and that makes a huge chunk of the GDP, plus so many jobs are given, right? You don't want to take away those jobs. And compared to that, software engineering looks really tiny. But software engineering, design, art, till now, they're all very niche job roles, right? Certain elite have had access to those job roles. So nobody really cares about that falling. But the truth with AI is eventually that's going to pervade everywhere, right? Eventually it is going to be most generic jobs done on a computer. And we're fairly certain we're going to get there. I still feel like that software engineer or that designer is still going to feel unfair. Why is the government protecting one class of jobs and not the other?
Will get disrupted first because of all that is changing.
People are not going to like this, but I think software engineers. In India, it's still a job that makes you good money.
And what kind of software engineers?
Every kind. Except maybe people working at like a level
Very
of
high
depth
level,
where you just can't find that on the internet. Or you need like to have 10 years of experience.
Deep tech is deep tech, AI scientists will remain.
Anything that innovates on top of stuff.
Okay,
So like a generic landing page guy is done.
let's see lowest hanging fruit. Let's say Infosys, TCS, Wipro are the largest software companies in India, and they employ ridiculous numbers of people, right? Let's say they work on, I'll take a very worldly example of it. Let's say Infosys is working on this banking software called Finacle, selling it to American companies and making a significant amount of revenue from that.
Yeah.
How does that get disrupted?
I think they will hire far few people to do that. Infosys has a bench because they have this problem of attrition.
That's okay. Hiring far few people is a good problem for Infosys. It makes them
it's
more
by
efficient.
a factor of 100.
It makes them even more efficient, right? As
Correct.
a
So
company.
Infosys will be fine as a company.
But they have distribution.
No, I think
already,
you
right?
took a wrong example.
I'm worried about the other
You took a
90% of
product
engineers.
example. Okay, so because
The
product is
services
IT.
kill stock के बारे में सोचना बंद कर 10 सेकंड के.
If you just take pure play services, right? If you really think about the level of code that's being written, I mean, they hire
You mean like
100,000.
SaaS companies?
No, that's again
services.
product companies, services.
Service
Just
exports, like
pure
I'll
IT
build you
services.
a-
I'll build you a web page. I'll build you a website. I'll build you something where you can add to cart. All of this would be auto-generated.
And if you see
don't-
that Bloom data,
Yeah.
you can see that exports has just been growing. It's like some X percentage, I don't know the exact number, but X percentage of our GDP. It's pretty big, right? Because there's an opportunity, right? In the US, you want to hire an engineer, it's 100K a year. In India, it's like cheap. But what I'm saying is everyone's going to be culled. There's going to be a 1%, 2% that's going to be completely fine, but everyone else is going to take a hit.
Now just imagine if he said this for software engineers, right? Which I agree with him in profound agreement. What happens to data entry operators? There's
Marketeers.
Call center employees.
marketeers, call center employees. There's this whole
Can that
range.
be done? Like I used to work in a call center.
Yeah.
Can you
absolutely.
get voice?
We actually met a company
It's-
the other day
Yeah.
which can in real time talk to a customer, understand what customer is saying, and it can train on the voice of whoever was supposed to make that call and can parallelly make multiple calls.
But you know,
and
that's not the
multiple
hard part in
conversations.
customer success or customer support. The hard part is deciding when to give a refund or not. It's not the voice. It's not the talking to the customers and pacifying them. It's, should I trigger a refund? Is this an authentic request for a refund? Is this guy trying to fool me? And the way Amazon does it is like, F it, just give them a refund.
Yeah.
Right? For that, you need accountability. And that's one thing ChatGPT lacks. So I'm not fully bought in on it'll replace customer support people anytime soon. Because if I give, like, if I'm working as head of some customer success, customer support thing or whatever, and let's say I give away too many refunds, I can lose my job. ChatGPT can't lose its job. So I feel like somebody has to make that authoritative decision as to, is this legitimate, is this not legitimate?
So we got software engineers. What else?
Marketeers for sure.
Define marketeers.
Like anyone running an ad.
Paralegals, yeah. I mean, the legal profession has so much outsourcing happening here, right?
Designers.
Designers, yeah.
It's white collar jobs simply because so much data exists.
What about social media influencers?
I think they will get even more powerful. I think they'll get even more powerful. I'll tell you why. Not because of the content itself, but because of the
Distribution.
channel.
Yeah,
Right. So once
distribution,
you
right?
have the channel, your cost of content creation is now zero. So you're able to get much bigger. And if you have one channel, you can always take that audience, throw them onto another channel.
Yeah, I think anybody who will prompt, right, as in has to have intelligence to say, okay, this content will work, and hence I want to use AI
I
to
will tell you
create
what
this.
content will work once
Yeah.
if you find it.
Yeah, so basically, still some intelligence. I think all of those will work. Anything that.
But you're
doesn't
right, like that one beacon of trust, which, I have 30 people I follow, I trust them. That's going to stay. And I think content creators who play for the views are done or will be done because you're just a scroll you're just one slide in a scroll wheel. But the people who you follow because you trust their opinion and trust their thoughts because they have depth of expertise, those people are going to stay. Right? So I'm just separating the idea of content creator into two halves.
Authenticity would still stay.
So distribution will become the biggest differentiator, right? Authentic distribution.
Authentic distribution, personal brand, that sort of stuff will...
Cash.
Both for people and for companies.
Cash will stay.
The motor.
Both for people
Cash
and
is
for
a moat.
companies.
It is a moat.
People and for companies.
Companies will have to start building distribution amongst their clients in a manner that they haven't.
Do you not feel like it is
I'm just thinking out aloud, okay? And this is a question to you guys as well. Do you not feel it is so much more efficient for a new person to come out today and say, I have this much distribution, I'm going to start a new company competing with XYZ company. Yeah. They have 50 engineers, they're slow, they probably have shareholders, lots of stuff. Yeah. I already have this distribution, and most venture capital is raised because you're trying to get growth and you're trying to hire a bunch of people. And I say, I'm going to compete with that company, build exactly what they have, use my distribution to spark it. Don't you feel that's like a better approach? Isn't that much faster?
On paper, it sounds great.
On paper, it sounds great.
Give funding.
But
Why
by
don't
the
we try
way,
it?
no,
Like
but
right now.
building distribution is not a joke.
Yeah.
Is not a joke.
Yeah.
Right? Trust
Okay,
me.
see, let's say between